The United States has just captured the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro and his wife after the massive operation in Caracas overnight, and they have been flown out of the country. According to Trump, U.S. forces first launched massive strikes inside Venezuela's capital at around 2 a.m. on the night, wherein at least 7 explosions were heard in Caracas, accompanied by low-flying aircraft and power outages. Then, U.S. forces carried out a special operation, in which Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were taken into custody and flown outside the country. U.S. officials have not yet released operational specifics nor any information about where they have taken Nicolas Maduro. The Venezuelan government called it an imperialist attack and urged citizens to take to the streets. It was not immediately clear who was running the country, and Maduro's whereabouts were not immediately known. However, this marks a significant escalation between the two countries, as Caracas declared a state of emergency and mobilized forces in response. We'll continue to update as more verified information becomes available.
Well, we ain't even 3 days into 2026 and America has gone into a sovereign nation and kidnapped their fucking president and his wife. As last night, the U.S. conducted military strikes and covert operations with special forces, aka Delta Force, and sent in Black Hawk helicopters with Delta Force Army Special Forces to go and kidnap the Venezuelan president, all while attacking key and pivotal points and bases and airports within Venezuela with air.
I want to say this, right? Kidnap, I guess, but they're planning to have him stand trial. So I don't know if I would still call that kidnapping with the plan to stay trial. Some would call it arresting, but regardless, right? And you can look up the information. I want to talk about this where first off, I want to say this. I'm critical of the government's foreign policies. I think we should 100% stay out of other countries. Don't give a shit. We should not care about the Middle East, Ukraine, anything, right? Any of those places. We shouldn't care about outside of the country. We should focus on the country, our country, America first. We should focus on America first. But this is the problem we have, okay? You can't on one hand say, oh, let's support Palestine. Let's support Ukraine. Let's support what's happening outside of your country. And then when America does, but again, they do how they think it, right? When the government does how they think, whoever they want to support, or, they want to interfere in other countries, now you complain. Literally, like during the whole thing about Trump's deportations of illegal immigrants, we constantly said, oh, you know what? We need to take care of illegal immigrants, right? We need to care about them. We need to do whatever we can for, human rights and all this stuff. Well, guess what? U.S. government is doing the same thing. That's what they're doing, right? This is for the Venezuelan people, right? Capturing, arresting, and putting on trial what the U.S. government thinks as a terrible person. This is the problem, right? When you constantly try to push, oh, we should care about what's happening outside of our borders, guess what? Well, people you don't like will use that also as an excuse. Okay? You can't on one hand say that, oh, we need to care about Ukraine, we need to care about Palestine, and then outside of the U.S., right, borders, places outside of the border, our borders, and then when the U.S. does, you complain about it, right? Because this is the thing where, how do you think, okay, sometimes you can rectify things happening in another nation, right? A nation that you have no power over. How do you think governments do that? War, takeovers, arrests, things like that, kidnapping, right? That's how, right? You interfere in other nations. To be honest, I've said this before, I've been critical of it. I think the U.S. should not care what's happening outside of its borders. 100%, in my opinion. They shouldn't. I don't care what's happening. They shouldn't care what's happening in the Middle East. We shouldn't send troops over there. We shouldn't send weapons, money, whatever, outside of the U.S. I'm sorry. But when people want to support Palestine, Ukraine, all stuff, guess what? Now you leave it open where U.S. can pick and choose. Oh, you know what? You want us to support whatever? Okay, we will. Now we're supporting, right? We're supporting a country. Supposedly these are terrible people. Well, this is what you're doing, right? And that's the problem. I just no, America first. We should care about our own people before we even think about anyone else. Okay, that's me being consistent. We should not care about anything outside of our borders. We shouldn't. So for me, it's like I don't really know what details about Venezuela. I don't live there, so I don't know if the guy's a bad person or what. But I don't care. I'm sorry. If he was a bad person, they should have revolted. Right? The people should have done it themselves. Every country, right? Palestine, Ukraine. Well, I'm sorry. You should do it yourself. You should protect your country yourself. You should, better your country yourself. So that's my opinion on all the stuff. I really don't like. Again, I said I don't like what Trump is doing because I think we shouldn't care. Right? If they were let's say if they were, sending drugs into our country across our borders, well, when you see a ship coming close, bomb it then. Right? Not far, but if they're coming close, bomb it, because I think we could do that. I'm pretty sure we could do that. So that's my thing, right? If it enters or is close to our borders, okay, do what you got to do. Outside other countries, that's not.
This is a message for my American friends watching the news today in English. There is a serious inaccuracy in the coverage. Venezuela is not undergoing a regime change. Venezuela already has a democratically elected president, Edmundo González. He is the president. Nicolás Maduro is not the president. He never was. He stole the last election and led a criminal organization linked to terrorism and drug trafficking, El Cartel de los Soles. And today, thanks to the vision and courage of the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, the decisive leadership of the President Donald Trump, and the actions of Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, the United States has finally recognized a fundamental truth. Protecting our hemisphere from terrorism, drug cartels, and authoritarian ideologies is a matter of national security for the United States.
I keep seeing this notion that the United States president doesn't have the authority to conduct military operations without congressional authority, but the United States Constitution says otherwise. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, better known as the Vesting Clause, declares that all the democratic will of the entire nation shall be vested in a president, singular. It also establishes that the president is the only individual in the entire American government that has full inherent authority over the armed forces. That means that the commander-in-chief can deploy troops anywhere in the world without a formal declaration of war, without authorization from the legislative branch. Even when Congress attempted to limit the president's power to commit troops, it wasn't able to fully answer the question of whether the president needs to seek congressional authority before conducting military operations like it did last night. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 actually allows the president to conduct these military operations without telling Congress. All it's required to do is that within 48 hours of conducting these military operations, it has to notify and report to Congress. The minute that the military operations begin, the president has about 60 days to receive full authorization from Congress to continue to do so. If it doesn't get it, then it's required to withdraw its troops. It means that President Trump had full constitutional authority to conduct military strikes and a military operation in a sovereign nation like Venezuela yesterday.
Let's see that one more time. Now, if you weren't born yesterday, I'm sure you remember a little while ago when everybody on the left was calling Elon Musk a Nazi for doing something similar to this. Yes, they were literally calling him a Nazi. Let's go back and take a look at what Elon did.
Thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
So what many on the left did is they took that clip out of context when Elon did that and literally said, "My heart goes out to you." It was very clear what he was doing. And they tried to disingenuously gaslight the public into thinking that he was Nazi saluting. Now pay attention, because Mamdani did something very similar, just less enthusiastic. Now watch and pay attention. It's very unlikely you'll see Democrats coming out and condemning Mamdani and calling him a Nazi for doing that.
Look, I don't really care about whatever groups. It's like I'm tired of the hypocrisy. Okay, I'm tired of the inconsistency. So what he says is true. Okay, they made it a thing when Elon did that salute, but they wouldn't care if a Democrat makes that salute. So you see the inconsistency and you see the hypocrisy. You see the weakness of their arguments. Where I see a lot of times now they're just being outraged to be outraged. That's it. They find whatever reason for them to be outraged. So that's why the political thing is really tiring. It really is. And why you see how the left is very weak on their arguments. Because when someone on their side do exactly what they complain about, they don't say nothing. But if the right or someone they disagree with does what they don't like, they will be outraged about. It's like, so you're not really outraged by, let's say, what they do. You're just outraged by them. So, like I said, all the things that Trump do, I guarantee you, if Biden did it, right, or Obama did it, then it's a moot point. Like the whole deporting illegal immigrants thing, they did it by, Biden and Obama did it much more than Trump, okay? And Trump, they only care when Trump did it. And people say, oh, because Trump did it, well, Trump did it a different way. I think the thing is that because they made it an issue, kind of pushed Trump to do it in a maybe different way, i.e. maybe push ICE into certain cities because they wouldn't allow it. Right? These cities, these blue states wouldn't allow the deportations of illegal immigrants under Trump. So you can see that it pretty much facilitated, A pretty much facilitated B. When if it was Obama or Biden, there would be no pushback. There would be no pushback. So ICE probably wouldn't have to come into these states under Obama and Biden because there would be no pushback. You see how that might be, the consequences of blue states doing the pushback, and it facilitated, Trump doing all. This is a thing where we don't realize that, a lot of people are just angry for angry's sake. They're outraged for outrage's sake. Okay, it's just because there's a different point of you're on the different side of the aisle. That's it, I believe. It's not really because of the points itself. Okay, it's not because of the ideology or whatever. So I think it's stupid.
The first will be to revive the mayor's office to protect tenants. We will not compromise on housing quality. The second is to create a LIFT task force. LIFT stands for Land Inventory Fast Track, to leverage city-owned land and accelerate housing development. The last executive order is the creation of the SPEED task force. SPEED standing for Streamlining Procedures to Expedite Equitable Development. This task force will identify and remove bureaucratic and permitting barriers that drive up costs and slow housing construction and lease up.
The only good part he probably said was the permitting thing, right? Because there is, in blue states, they have a permitting issue, okay? A whole bunch of red tape issue, the bureaucracies of making or constructing a home. The other stuff he said is like, okay, first of all, caring about tenants and affordability. There's a housing shortage, okay? And the houses that are there, owners don't want to sell it, nor do they want to rent it out because it's not feasible. Doesn't make sense cost-wise. So really, you care about the tenant when you don't care about the owners shows you that you're not going to get the problem finished. Now, maybe the last part could help new owners, but it doesn't sound like nothing he's helping with existing owners. Now, the second part he said, for cities to create housing, honestly, there are city-owned or city-created grocery stores that are that's not profitable. So they go bankrupt or they close. I'm sorry. In a nation where you need profitability to sustain, then it doesn't make sense. Because one, if it's not a profitable venture, constantly losing money, even if it's government backed, the government can only do so much, right? The government's money is not endless. Government's money is people's money. So to create this endless money of non-existent profitability, government has to continue taking money from the people to sustain something that is money losing, right? That loses money. So really, it's like, okay, you want people to afford groceries, but you are taxing them more or taking more from them. It's like if you're not taking, hurting them on one end, you're hurting them on the other end. So really, it's not really solving the problem. I mean, and again, I'm telling you this right. I'm not like a smart economist or anything. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But from an average person's point of view, that don't sound that great. That don't sound like you're solving the problem. Not like I said, maybe the last part where he said trying to get rid of the bureaucracies of creating new homes. Yeah, I think that would probably help solve some problems. But you're not helping existing problems and the red tape of creating homes. If the government's gonna create homes and they're gonna, give free rent or free homes or low cost homes, it's like you're losing money. And to make up for the loss of money, you're just gonna take more money from the people. I don't know. This is the thing. I don't. This whole thing with blue, red states. I don't know. I care for the prosperity of Americans. So if if New York succeed, great. If a red state succeed, awesome. But sometimes I just feel like these people are not succeeding. They're just hurting the people because this is the thing. We want to say New York is, as a blue state, one of the most highest GDP. California, a blue state that has the highest GDP. Yeah, they have the highest because not because of necessarily their policies. It's because of there's so many rich people live there. Which these are the states that hate rich people, right? These are the states that hate rich people. But to have such a great name for themselves, they have a lot of rich people. So I don't know. It's counterintuitive, but whatever. I just hope that things turn out good for Americans. That's it.